folks. Mike Newmeyer here, 410-902-0464. You know, I spoke a little while ago about some of the things that are going on and some things that we have to be careful about and so forth and so on. I want to give you some practical ideas. I've just made some notes here. You know, how are you going to deal with a recession? Especially, of course, if somebody loses their job. Well, let me tell you where the Fed's going. The Fed is going to raise rates. What they want to do is to reduce demand. How do you reduce demand? You reduce the number of people that are buying. That's demand, buying, okay? How do you reduce the number of people that are buying? You reduce the number of workers. So that raises unemployment, but it also reduces prices because people aren't buying as much, and therefore the demand is less, and all the manufacturers are struggling to maintain their volumes, so they cut the prices. They have more specials and so forth and so on. What happens is then a lot of poverty, a lot of people are in trouble, a lot of people on unemployment and so forth, but we reduce demand, so we reduce inflation. Right now, inflation is running about 7% overall. It's higher in some cases. And our basic interest rates are running about 5%, okay, 4 or 5%. So you gotta go a ways to get past the 7. In order to destroy inflation, you've got to raise rates above them. I don't know how we're going to really do that and get down to 2%, which is their goal. You know that for a good 40 years, ending in, 10 years ago or so, our inflation rate was 4%, and we lived with it. Now they're talking about reducing it to 2%. I'm not so sure that's realistic. But anyway, how is all these things going to affect us? What if somebody loses a job in your family? Even if it's not your husband or your wife, what if it's somebody else, a relative that you have to help? There's all kinds of possibilities that can take place. And everything is going to cost more because interest rates are going to be higher. You go to buy a car, you go to buy a home. Do you know that home sales have gone down, home values have gone down because rates are up. When rates are up, values go down. It's simple mathematics. Okay. So what are we going to do in the recession? And I've talked about this in so many ways and so many times, but I can't drill it through as much as it needs to be because Americans are so optimistic in general. They don't necessarily take all these things that positively or that realistically, I should say, okay, and take action. Procrastination is not preparation. The longer you procrastinate, the worse things can be. And incidentally, if you make the measures now and things don't get that bad, then you're dollars and dollars and dollars ahead. Okay. So what do? Well, I wrote this down. You got to know every trick in the book, every possibility. And you should write things down, and you should keep track of them. You should add to the possibilities, discuss this with your family, see what they say. You talk about how to reduce expenses. And these are just a few ideas. Buy less for less. Buy less for less. If you go to a regular store, of course, do you know that the richest people in America are trading down? The most expensive restaurants in America are not doing as well as they were. Fast food is growing. McDonald's is growing. But the expensive restaurants the people are trading down. But that's hard to believe, but they are. People with money are trading down. And they're buying less for less. How do you buy less for less? Well, let me give you an idea. You go to a grocery store, and instead of buying a brand product, you buy the house brand. You buy the store brand. You buy what we call private label, okay? So you go to the store and you look for their label. In most cases, it is the very same product as the brand. Think about it this way. You're a brand manufacturer. You're producing whatever it is. Coffee or canned peaches. I don't care what it is. The longer you can make those runs last, okay, the cheaper your labor is, the cheaper your overhead is a percentage. So if you've got a private label and you've got your brand label, what you're going to do is keep everything simple. You're going to keep everything simple. The labels change, the product stays the same, and guess what? They're selling their label at a discount. Very simple process. On the brand labels, they typically have to pay back, money to be used for coupons, money for advertising, all kinds of fees for getting a number of facings in the store, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. but they favor their own brands. So they keep plenty of facings, points that shelf space, for their brand. That's for one thing. And the second thing is their price is always going to be substantially less. Interesting thing. I went to Lidl's and I bought, regular coffee, Colombian coffee for $7.29 for a big can. Okay, then in the same shelf I see Folgers selling for $10. That's a substantial savings, isn't it? And guess what? Their coffee's great. Get lots of compliments on it. You got to do those kinds of trade downs in order to save money. All right. So less for less, travel less. It's already happening. It's already happening. The cruise ships are slowing down, not just their speed. They're just not getting filled as fast. Okay, that's going on already. And travel to Europe and travel to a lot of places is also slowing down. What's that tell you? People aren't spending the money as much as they were. We got too many people living on credit cards, and they're going to bust. They're going to get to the point where they can't put anything else on the travel cards. The interest is a lot more than it used to be, and they still have to make those minimum payments anyway, don't they? And do you know that the average car lease or purchase payment in the United States is $700? Well, mine isn't that much, you might say. Well, okay. But it's more than it used to be because interest rates have gone up. Okay, so there's certain things you have to buy. There's certain things you have to pay for. What about the insurance in your house? When's the last time you looked at your coverage? Maybe you can get less coverage because you don't necessarily need it. If you haven't reviewed it or edited it in a long time, look at things like that. Look at things like Verizon and their competition, Comcast. Look at all those kinds of things. Look at the costs that you see every month and ask yourself, BG&E, can you reduce it? You need to edit it and look what you're paying for. It's amazing. You can negotiate a lot of these things. If you're buying oil, don't for your house, to heat your house, don't pay for it once a year or twice a year. Pay for it monthly so that the impact is less. Okay, don't wait for the end of the year and get a big bill of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. It doesn't make a lot of good sense. There's a lot of things, if you pay it monthly, it doesn't cost you any more annually than if you paid for it annually or semi-annually. So those are good things to know about. And look for discount stores. We've got them in America. Lots of discount stores today. People like Aldi and people like Lidl, which are great stores. And if you walk into Lidl, you've got discount lines where you get some real values that you never expect. Got to look for those kinds of things. I know people, I wouldn't buy discounted this or discounted that and so forth. And go back to what I said before. Oftentimes it's the same product with their label on it. All right. And I already said, buy the store brands. Use cashback credit cards. There's at least one card that Wells Fargo puts out where you get 2% back on everything. And they don't charge you an annual fee. You get 2% back on everything. I got an email this morning telling me how much money I had in my account at Wells Fargo in the cashback account. PNC has a pretty good card. They pay you cash back. So, do those kinds of things. It adds up. It's like a savings account. You can let it grow and use it as you need it. Okay. Buy bulk. Buying things in bulk pays off. If you go to wholesale places like Big Lots and of course Costco and BJ's and so forth, now there you're buying wholesale. And if you buy wholesale, if you buy a case at a time or whatever, figure out your usage. You're not trying to just build inventory. Figure out your actual usage and then look at the costs if you're not saving money, don't do it. But if you're saving money, if you want to save money, then you ought to try that. And shop for bargains. Are you a good shopper? You will be amazed if you go to some stores, look at the price, but when you get to the cash stand, it's less. It's less. It can't be more because you can take them back and show you the price on the counter and they can't charge you any more than that. But lots of times it's just less. Okay. And then at the end of the season, if you're buying clothes, that's when it drops down. And incidentally, right now, they're not expecting a great season for summer, huh? And they want to get rid of their winter clothes because they didn't sell that well either. You can get real discounts on clothing in stores because they're trying to get rid of inventory. They have to pay interest on inventory all the time. They don't, you know, they aren't paying. They're not buying inventory using their cash. They basically are borrowing money to do all those things, and they don't want to borrow money and have to cover all that expense, you know, unnecessarily. They don't want to carry forward inventory into the next season that they're not going to sell the next season. They want the cash out of it, so discounting, and that's a good thing for people that can afford to take advantage of those bargains. Those are just some ideas. You know, I wrote these down to give you a call. Look at your auto insurance. You ask yourself the question: do you need all that coverage? You know, and all the things that you don't look at on a regular basis are the things to look at. Okay, and if you want some help with it, you know, give me a call. Come in. I'll sit down and help you review these things and help you make a decision on what you can save on. And I'm always available. Mike Newmeyer, 410-902-0464. Look forward to seeing you soon.